So if you've been watching for a little while, it's no secret that I absolutely love the 2018 iPad Pro. This is one of my favorite products of the last 5 years, and I use it for more than just consuming content. I actually do stuff on here. So I figured it's about time. Let's go ahead and show you what's on my iPad and why I love it so much. So I set up my iPad with 3 main pages. The first is the basics, then I have my creative page, and then the work page. But my dock is where I keep everything that I use every single day, so I can always get to it quickly. The main different apps here from stock are Twitter, YouTube, and the YouTube Studio app, which I'm in all the time, checking stats for videos, seeing how everything's going, and so that I can make changes and reply to comments. It's great, so I always keep that here on the dock. Now my first page is more of the apps that I use a lot, like on a daily basis. These don't really have a category and are kind of all over the place, but things like Amazon, Nest, Reddit. I also have some more entertainment stuff here like Netflix. Also, I love looking at real estate and places to rent, so the Truly app is always on one of my devices. I look at that a lot. But then I get to the creative page. This is where all the apps I use to make stuff live. Now, a lot of these are just installed in case I need them, but most of them I actually use a lot. Now, I know some of these apps and what they're actually used for can be kind of intimidating. I know it was for me when I was first learning, and really anytime I learned something new. But luckily, we live in a really cool time where you can actually get help with that. And that brings us to today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is one of my favorite places to go online to learn new things. It's an online community for creators with more than 25,000 classes in design, video production, business, photography, and pretty much anything you can think of. So if you're like me and you love learning new things or, just honing your skills, Skillshare is the perfect place to keep you learning and thriving through 2019. One of my favorite classes so far is Intro to Lettering for the iPad, and this is something that I've been wanting to learn, and having the iPad is actually great for that. So having classes like this at my disposal is just plain helpful. Now what's great is that Skillshare is actually affordable. So an annual subscription is less than $10 a month. And these premium memberships give you unlimited access to any class you want, so you can join and start learning. But even better, the first 500 of my subscribers to use the link down in the description will get a 2-month free trial. So really, there is no reason not to try it. Join the more than 7 million creators learning with Skillshare, and again, that link is down in the description. Okay, so I've talked about Lightroom CC before, but this is probably the most used app right now. I edit most of my photos on the go, and this is my favorite app to do it. It works really well. It syncs between my devices, so if I ever need to pick it up on my phone or on my Mac, I can do that. It just works really well for me. Now LumaFusion is one of those just-in-case apps. I don't edit video on my iPad often at all, but I like to know that I can if I need to, and LumaFusion is definitely the app to do it. It is extremely powerful. The main reason I don't do it often is just because importing media and dealing with that on the iPad still isn't that great. But next to that app is probably one of my favorites for the iPad, Affinity Photo. I know we're supposed to be getting Photoshop at some point, but until then, Affinity is about as good as it gets. There's a lot to learn with this app, but it really lets you get in there and fiddle with every part of the image, just like you would be able to do in Photoshop. So having that on the iPad means I never really have to go to the desktop when working with images. I can do it all here, and I love that. Now, I'm not going to cover every single app because a lot of them are pretty standard, but another one that I'm liking is Beatmaker. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I don't really know how to use this app yet. I am still learning, like I said, but I know it's very powerful and capable, and I'm trying to get into making some of my own music for things like these videos. It's just more of a hobby at this point, but I think this is the app to do it. Okay, so before we move on, I want to talk about wallpapers, because this is by far the question I get the most. The majority of my wallpapers come from a service called Unsplash, and I have that app installed here. It's just a bunch of free to use images for pretty much any scenario, and I love using it for wallpapers because they're high quality and they're more unique than what you can get with like a Google search. I go through this app about once a week and find the ones that I think would make good wallpapers, and I just kind of swap them out as I get bored with what I have. So if you're looking for some great ones for your device, check out Unsplash, and I'll also leave my wallpaper that I'm currently using linked down below in the description. Okay, so on the third page, I have all the apps I use for work. So Slack, Trello, Google Apps. It's pretty standard stuff, nothing really new here. But one cool app that I love is called Forms. Now, I actually made a video on this a while ago, like a long time ago, so I'll link that here if you want to watch it, but basically it lets you make contracts for freelance work. You always want to get things in writing when you're doing work, and this app just makes it easier to do. So if you don't really know how to make a contract, you basically just fill everything in here and it does it for you. Of course, you still want to read it over, but for the most part, it works really well. And it just helps me get that kind of monotonous process out of the way. But really, those are the main things I use on my iPad. I don't use all of them all the time, but the apps that I do use are powerful and they make the iPad a great part of my workflow. And I'll say it again and again, I wish this did more, and I'm hoping that with iOS 13, it finally will. But even as it stands, I love this thing.